stop. Before you button that collar, before you pull that turtleneck over your head, before you reach for the crew neck you have been wearing for years, I need you to look at what your neckline is doing to your face. Not to your outfit, to your face. The neckline of whatever you are wearing right now is either opening the space between your chin and your chest in a way that elongates and lifts everything above it, or it is closing that space in a way that compresses and ages everything above it. The difference is not the fabric or the price. It is the shape of the neckline. 3 seconds to change it. A neckline that opens downward directs the eye downward and outward from the face, creating space and elongation in the neck. A neckline that closes upward directs the eye to stop at the neckline rather than traveling past it. And everything above that stopping point reads as compressed, shortened, and older than it actually is. That is why some necklines add 10 years without changing a single thing about the face itself. The face has not changed. The frame has. The most aging neckline of all is the last one on this list. Neckline number 6. The crew neck. The classic crew neck. The round, close-fitting neckline that sits approximately 2 to 3 inches below the throat is the most widely worn neckline for women over 60. And one of the most consistently aging. A crew neck creates a horizontal line across the upper chest, approximately at the level of the collarbone. That horizontal line visually separates the head and neck from the body, creating the impression that the head and neck are sitting on top of the garment rather than emerging from it. And it creates a visual stopping point that makes the neck look shorter than it is. The eye reads the neck as the space between the chin and the crew neck line, rather than as the full length of the neck. The fix is any neckline that sits lower and opens at the center front. A V-neck, a scoop neck, a deep oval, anything that creates downward visual movement rather than a horizontal stopping point. Even a single button undone at the top of a crew neck blouse changes the silhouette meaningfully. 3 seconds. The 2-finger test. Put on a crew neck. Look at the apparent neck length. Then pull the neckline open with 2 fingers and look again. In almost every case, the neck that appears is longer. The chin appears less compressed, and the face reads as more open and elevated. That 5-second test produces a result that most women find genuinely surprising the first time they try it. The neck was always that long. The crew neck was shortening it. Neckline number 5. The boat neck. The boat neck, the wide horizontal neckline that runs from shoulder seam to shoulder seam with no downward opening in the center, is one of the most beautiful necklines in existence when worn in the right context. It shows the collarbone beautifully. And it is one of the most aging necklines available for a woman over 60 when worn as the primary neckline with nothing added to break its horizontal. A boat neck creates the widest possible horizontal line at the most visible point of the body, across the upper chest, directly below the face. That horizontal line stops the eye at exactly the wrong place and creates a strong left-right direction that works against the upward, elongating direction that flatters a mature face. The fix is not to abandon boat necks. Boat necks with a vertical element added are completely flattering. One long necklace over a boat neck, worn hanging down the center of the torso, converts the strongest horizontal neckline in a wardrobe into something that works. 3 seconds to put the necklace on. An open cardigan or blazer worn over a boat neck top creates 2 vertical lines running alongside the horizontal. And those 2 vertical lines give the eye something to follow downward, rather than left and right. The boat neck that was the dominant horizontal becomes a detail within a vertical frame. The frame changes everything about how the horizontal reads. Neckline number 4. The mock turtleneck. The mock turtleneck. The shorter version of the full turtleneck that sits, approximately at mid-neck rather than folding over, feels like a compromise between the coverage of the full turtleneck and the openness of a lower neckline. And as a compromise, it produces exactly what compromises usually produce. Neither the benefit of the open neckline nor the dramatic statement of the full turtleneck, but a specific aging effect that is uniquely its own. A mock turtleneck cuts the neck at exactly the widest point, the mid-neck, where the neck is neither at its narrowest near the chin, nor at its broadest at the base. It creates a horizontal line across the neck, at the point where the neck is most visible and most measurable. The eye reads the face, travels down to the mock turtleneck, stops, and measures the neck as exactly the distance between the chin and the neckline. That distance, seen against a neckline rather than open space, almost always reads as shorter than the neck actually is. The fix is either to go lower, opening the neckline to a V or scoop that gives the neck room, or to go higher, committing to a full turtleneck that has enough height to create a specific, sophisticated statement, rather than a midpoint that does neither. The half measure is the problem. The commitment, either to openness or to height, is the solution. And for women who want warm color close to the face, a V-neck or wide scoop blouse in the same warm color provides the warm reflected light from the warm color without the horizontal compression from the mid-neckline. Neckline number 3, the collarless high button-up. This neckline, the collarless granddad collar, the mandarin collar, the band collar, worn fully buttoned all the way to the throat, creates a ring around the throat that compresses the neck and frames the face in a way that is specifically aging. The compression effect of a closely buttoned high neckline with no collar is similar to the crew neck. It creates a horizontal line at the throat, but it adds a secondary effect. The ring around the throat at close range draws the eye to the throat itself, to the junction of the neck and the neckline, in a way that an open neckline never would. Open necklines invite the eye to travel past the throat, toward the face. A closely buttoned ring around the throat asks the eye to stop at the throat and examine the junction. For a woman over 60 who may be self-conscious about the neck area, this is exactly the opposite of what the neckline is meant to do. The fix is simplicity itself. Undo the top button. 1 button. 3 seconds. The ring opens. The throat is freed. The neckline reads as a style choice rather than a compression, and the face above it reads as the clear destination the eye was always meant to reach. The mandarin collar specifically, worn open at the center, with the top button undone, and the collar standing softly away from the throat on each side. It is completely current and completely flattering. Worn fully buttoned, it creates the aging ring around the throat effect. The same collar, the same garment, the same fabric. The single button makes the entire difference. Open, current, and flattering. Closed, aging and compressing. Neckline number 2. The high rounded ruffle or frill at the neckline. The blouse with a ruffle running from the collar area along the center front. The fabric that has a frill framing the face and throat was often marketed to women over 60 as a way to frame the face and soften the neckline area. The specific aging quality of the high ruffle at the neckline is that it adds volume and mass at the throat in a way that frames the lower face in exactly the same way that a very large flat hoop earring frames the lower face. It creates a frame around an area of the face that most women over 60 are most self-conscious about, rather than drawing the eye upward and past it. A high ruffle or frill at the neckline also adds a softness and a romanticism that was very specific to particular decades, particularly the 1970s and the early 1980s, and wearing that specific detail in its original form anchors the wearer to that era. The fix is to replace the frilled neckline with a plain open neckline in a similar silhouette. If you love the blouse otherwise, the color, the fabric, the cut, the frill can sometimes be carefully removed or tucked in without damaging the garment. If the frill is structural, the fix is simply to reach for a different blouse. And to address the appeal of softness at the throat directly, softness does not require mass. A soft draped neckline, a delicate V-neck in a fluid fabric, a loosely knotted scarf. All of these provide softening quality at the throat without the volume that the ruffle adds. Softness from fabric quality and drape is always more flattering than softness from added mass. The ruffle adds mass. The fluid neckline adds drape. The distinction is everything. And now neckline number 1, the most aging neckline for women over 60. The one that is most widely worn and most consistently damaging. Neckline number 1, the full turtleneck worn as a default. I am not saying that turtlenecks are aging. A turtleneck worn as a deliberate choice. Worn because the woman has considered what it does for her specific face, her specific neck, her specific coloring, and the specific outfit she is building, can be one of the most sophisticated and most flattering neckline choices available. The aging effect I am describing is specific to the turtleneck worn as a default, worn because it covers the neck, because it feels safe, because it eliminates the question of what to do with the neckline by simply closing it completely. A turtleneck worn as a default creates a column of fabric from the base of the neck upward that reads as a solid, enclosed block. The face sits on top of that block, and a face that sits on top of a solid, enclosed column reads as shorter, heavier, and more isolated from the body than a face that emerges from an open neckline with visible neck space and collarbone below it. The fix is not to stop wearing turtlenecks. The fix is to try on an alternative for 3 seconds before reaching for the turtleneck by default. Hold a V-neck near the face. Hold a scoop neck. Look at what the open neckline does to the apparent length of the neck and the apparent openness of the face above it. Then make the choice. If the turtleneck wins, wear it with confidence. If the V-neck wins, reach for it. The choice, made consciously rather than by habit, is what makes any neckline work. This countdown is an invitation to be more visible, to let the face be fully, openly, uncompressedly the center of the picture. 3 seconds to open the neckline. A different relationship with being seen. Which of these 6 necklines do you reach for most often? Tell me in the comments. I read every single one.